The stars were unusually silent that night. In the far reaches of the galaxy, ancient civilizations whispered stories of storms that could swallow entire worlds, yet none had ever truly faced one. Across hundreds of light years, these mighty races debated endlessly, debating if they should intervene, or if the cost was too high. And in the middle of it all, a small blue planet spun quietly in the void. Earth, humanity's home. For humans, life had always been unpredictable. They faced challenges, yes, but nothing like what the galaxy now faced. And yet, humans were different. Even without the most advanced ships, the largest armies, or the most powerful weapons, they had a trait no other species could match: courage. And sometimes, that was enough. It began with a signal, a faint pulse sent across the stars, carrying a message in a language old as time itself. The signal did not demand aid. It did not threaten. It simply called out, "Help is needed. Will anyone answer?" Most of the galaxy ignored it. Why risk lives for a world so small, so insignificant? But on Earth, the call reached the minds of those who could hear it. Scientists monitoring deep space signals noticed the strange frequency. Engineers ran simulations of strange energy patterns. Explorers and pilots debated the possibilities. And ordinary people, the teachers, farmers, and inventors, all felt a sense of urgency, a quiet but unshakable pull that said, "We must do something." In the heart of the world, at the United Nations Space Center, humanity's leaders convened an emergency meeting. "We have no idea what's coming," said Dr. Anaya Singh, a physicist with a mind that raced faster than most humans could follow. "All we know is that something enormous is moving toward the systems near us. We need to prepare, and fast." Her words were calm, but the tension in the room was anything but. Humans had faced natural disasters, diseases, and wars. They had survived floods, earthquakes, and fires, but nothing in human history compared to a threat that could wipe out entire planets. Yet, even as fear crept in, humans acted. Within days, the greatest minds on Earth designed ships that could travel faster than any had before. Using energy fields and new propulsion systems, they adapted satellites to monitor cosmic disturbances. They organized fleets of small craft, capable of precise maneuvers in dangerous regions. Across the world, ordinary citizens joined the effort. Engineers in Tokyo, New York, and Cape Town built engines and devices. Teachers trained students in advanced math and navigation techniques. Farmers provided resources, powering the supply chain that no one species could maintain alone. The Earth worked as one organism. Humans, in their strange, persistent way, were ready to answer the call. Then came the first test. The storm appeared as a dark mass in the distance, a swirling cloud of energy that bent light and distorted space. Entire solar systems had already fallen victim to its chaotic force. But for the first time, it encountered humans. And humans did not flee. Captain Leora Kim stood on the bridge of the Horizon, the largest human ship in the fleet. She was not the oldest, nor the most decorated, but she had something rarer: instinct. She studied the storm, her eyes tracing its shifting patterns. "It's faster than predicted," she said. "But it's not impossible. We just need to stay calm and think." Her crew nodded. There was fear, yes, but also determination. Each human aboard the ship knew that they were the first line of defense, not for Earth alone, but for every world that had begged for help and received silence. The first attempt to contain the storm was simple yet daring. Using large magnetic sails, humans redirected smaller energy pulses away from nearby planets. The process was delicate. One miscalculation could mean disaster. But humans had learned to improvise. When a sail tore, engineers quickly reinforced it with spare materials. When navigation computers lagged, pilots manually adjusted trajectories, trusting their instincts. The galaxy watched silently. Alien fleets hovered in the shadows, unsure, unwilling, yet curious. And humans succeeded. Against impossible odds, they held the line. News spread fast. The storm was slowed, but not defeated. Still, humans did not despair. Instead, they held councils to plan, adjust, and improve. They trained more crews, built faster ships, and shared their knowledge freely, even with alien species willing to learn. Curiosity and collaboration, two human traits, began to shine as brightly as their courage. Meanwhile, on Earth, ordinary life continued in parallel with extraordinary efforts. Children played in fields under bright suns, unaware that above them, humans charted paths through a deadly cosmic storm. Farmers continued harvesting, engineers continued building, and citizens continued sending supplies to the fleet. Humans never waited for perfection, they acted, always adapting. One of the most remarkable moments came when a young scientist, Tomás Vega, discovered a method to use the storm's energy as a guiding force, rather than just a destructive one. If we can read its patterns, he explained to the council, we might be able to predict its movements, and even use its force to push it away from inhabited systems. Skepticism arose. No species had ever attempted this. It was risky. But humans were never afraid to take risks for the greater good. With careful calculations, they built experimental devices and tested the theory. At first, the results were uncertain, but human persistence was relentless. Within weeks, the storm's erratic bursts could be anticipated, allowing humans to save planets that were once doomed. Through it all, humans displayed another trait: hope. Even in the face of terrifying odds, they laughed. They celebrated small victories, and they inspired those around them. Stories of courage traveled across ships, from bridge to bridge, reaching alien observers. Slowly, respect began to replace doubt. By the end of the first engagement, humans had achieved what no one expected. They had slowed a force that had destroyed entire civilizations. They had proven that size, strength, and advanced technology were not the only keys to survival. Creativity, courage, and unity mattered even more. And still, the storm grew. Its core had not yet arrived, and its power was unimaginable. But humans were ready. Not because they had the perfect plan, but because they never stopped trying. They had answered the call when the galaxy hesitated. They had acted when no one else would. On the bridge of the horizon, Captain Leora Kim looked at the vast expanse of stars. "This is only the beginning," she said. "But we are ready. Whatever comes next, we face it together." Across the fleet, the same sentiment echoed. Humans might be small, their ships fewer, their weapons simpler. But their hearts were vast, their minds sharp, and their will unbreakable. And that, perhaps, was the greatest power in the universe. As the stars twinkled silently above, humans prepared for the trials ahead. The first part of their story, the moment when the galaxy realized Earth's people were different, had ended. The storm was not gone, and the challenges ahead would be greater than anything they had faced. But humanity had already answered the heavens' call, and when humans answered, even the impossible became possible. The cosmic storm had not slowed. It surged forward like a living tide, devouring systems with careless power. Yet humanity stood in its path, small ships braving the storm, while fleets of other species hesitated, unsure, or unwilling to intervene. On the bridge of the human flagship, Horizon, Captain Leora Kim studied the swirling energy patterns projected across the main screen. Every pulse, every flash, was a puzzle. Most species would have panicked or retreated. Humans did not. "We have to act," Leora said firmly. "If we wait, more systems will fall. And we can't let that happen. We've faced storms before, but nothing like this." Her words were met with nods, determination shining in every eye. Humans were not the strongest. They did not possess the largest fleets or the most advanced technology, but their courage, ingenuity, and adaptability were unmatched. The first challenge came quickly. A nearby colony, Aurealis 7, teetered on the edge of destruction. The storm had already ripped through its atmosphere, scattering clouds of plasma that could strip life from its surface in moments. "We have 20 minutes before it becomes critical," reported Lieutenant Amir Patel, the ship's tactical officer. "We need a plan. Fast." Humans did not hesitate. Engineers and pilots worked together, combining solar sails, energy shields, and gravitational deflectors to create a protective corridor. It was risky. One wrong calculation could spell disaster, but risk was something humans were familiar with. Using smaller ships to guide the storm's erratic bursts, humans directed the energy away from the colony. When a deflector broke, engineers repaired it mid-flight, improvising materials on the spot. When sensors faltered, pilots relied on instinct. A human trait often underestimated by the galaxy's more rigid civilizations. By the time the storm passed Aurealis 7, the colony was intact. Residents cheered, waving from the safety of their viewing platforms as human ships sailed away. Across the galaxy, alien observers took note. These small beings from a distant blue planet were capable of brilliance under pressure. But the storm's threat was far from over. More systems lay ahead, each presenting new challenges. On some worlds, storms had fragmented into dangerous energy shards. On others, it generated unpredictable gravitational anomalies that threatened entire fleets. Humans adapted. They divided their forces into small, nimble squads, capable of handling specific problems. Each squad combined engineers, pilots, and communicators who could negotiate with sentient elements of the storm, an experimental approach that no other species had dared attempt. Captain Leora led one such squad to the system of Terralis Prime. There, the storm had created massive plasma funnels, threatening to collide with the planet's orbit. Using a combination of magnetic fields and precise maneuvers, Leora's team stabilized the funnels. It was during this mission that human creativity shone brightest. Leora noticed that certain pulses of the storm responded to sound frequencies. By using oscillating energy signals, the team was able to gently redirect a funnel, preventing catastrophic damage. "It's working," Leora said, a smile crossing her face. "We're learning its language." Indeed, humans had a rare ability. The ability to observe, learn, and adapt in ways other species rarely attempted. Many civilizations relied on brute strength, on overwhelming power. Humans relied on curiosity, empathy, and innovation. And it was paying off. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, stories of human heroism spread. Young pilots inspired by Earth's courage joined the effort, some secretly following human fleets, eager to learn their methods. Aliens who had once doubted the blue planet's importance now watched with respect and a hint of admiration. Back on Earth, the public followed the events with rapt attention. Citizens built new ships, trained new crews, and created tools to assist the fleet. Students designed navigation software, farmers supplied rare materials, and inventors worked day and night to solve problems that had never existed before. Humanity's strength was not just in its soldiers, but in the united effort of the planet. Not every attempt succeeded. In one system, a young human pilot, Alara, miscalculated a deflector's angle. Her ship was caught in a burst of plasma. For a tense moment, communication was lost, but humans never gave up. Rescue crews were dispatched immediately. Using clever maneuvers and teamwork, they retrieved her ship and crew. The galaxy, observing from afar, saw not just skill but determination. Humans did not abandon one another. Perhaps the most remarkable demonstration of human courage came when Tomás Vega, the young scientist, proposed a bold experiment. He suggested that the storm's chaotic energy could be used as a guiding force if humans could read its patterns accurately enough. Many considered it too dangerous. But humans had a saying: better to act than to wait and regret. Using advanced sensors and calculations, Vega and his team began mapping the storm's energy flows. It was delicate work, requiring both precision and intuition. The first tests were shaky. But slowly, patterns emerged. Humans could predict the storm's bursts, anticipate its changes, and even influence its direction slightly. This knowledge allowed human fleets to save entire colonies that had once seemed doomed. They created corridors of safety, rerouted dangerous energy bursts, and even stabilized small planets that had been torn from their orbits. Through it all, human traits shone. Courage in the face of fear, ingenuity in impossible situations, and an unwavering belief in the power of collaboration. Other species began to take notice. Some cautiously asking for guidance, others silently following human examples. Captain Leora's squad faced one final challenge in Part 2. A system named Krylos had been almost entirely consumed by the storm. Its orbit was unstable, and its inhabitants were trapped in a maze of shifting energy currents. "This is our chance to prove something," Leora said. "Not just that we can survive, but that humans can lead when others hesitate." The operation required precise timing, split-second decisions, and absolute trust among the crew. Ships wove through plasma streams, engineers recalibrated shields on the fly, and pilots relied on instinct more than instruments. For hours, the battle raged, not with weapons, but with strategy, creativity, and courage. When the last human ship left Krylos, the planet was stabilized. The inhabitants cheered, not just for survival, but for the unexpected heroes who had risked everything to save them. For the first time, other civilizations truly began to understand humanity. They were not the strongest, the fastest, or the most technologically advanced, but they were fearless, adaptable, and united in a way few species could comprehend. Where others saw danger, humans saw opportunity. Where others saw despair, humans saw hope. As the fleets returned to regroup, Captain Leora addressed her crew. "Today, we didn't just save planets. We showed the galaxy that courage matters. Ingenuity matters. And together, we are stronger than any storm." The galaxy was listening now. Reports of human bravery spread from star system to star system. Some still doubted, but curiosity replaced hesitation. Humans had inspired something that no one had predicted: belief in action, rather than fear of failure. Back on Earth, the people continued their work. Ships were repaired and upgraded, crews trained, and scientists pushed the limits of knowledge. Children drew pictures of humans as heroes among the stars, and teachers spoke of courage and creativity as lessons for life. Humanity's influence was growing, not through domination, but through example. By the end of Part 2, the storm had not yet been defeated. Its core loomed closer, more powerful and unpredictable than ever. But humanity had proven something vital. Size, strength, and technology alone did not determine the outcome. Creativity, courage, and unity could turn the impossible into achievable reality. And so, humans prepared for the next stage. The galaxy had begun to take notice. Not as skeptics, but as admirers. Allies would come, not because humans demanded it, but because humans inspired it. The trial of courage had begun, and humanity was ready. The storm's core was approaching, larger and more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. Across countless star systems, planets trembled, and civilizations braced for impact. Most species hid behind their shields, unwilling to face the inevitable. But humanity did not hesitate. They had already faced near impossible odds and emerged stronger, and now they were ready for the greatest challenge of all. Captain Leora Kim stood once more on the bridge of the horizon. Her crew was tense but focused. Every human aboard knew what was at stake, not just for Earth, but for countless worlds depending on them. They had faced storms before, guided energy flows, saved colonies, and inspired others. Now, it was time to confront the storm's heart itself. "We've prepared as best as we can," Leora said, her eyes scanning the swirling vortex on the main screen. "We can't stop it with force. But we can outthink it, outmaneuver it, and work together to turn its power away from the worlds it threatens. Remember, every action matters. Every life we save is a victory." The plan was daring. Tomas Vega and his team of scientists had developed a series of devices capable of interacting with the storm on a large scale. These devices would emit energy pulses designed to align with the storm's natural flow, guiding it like a river rather than fighting it head-on. It was unprecedented. No species had ever attempted such a thing. Human pilots would weave through the storm, placing these devices at precise points while engineers monitored their effects. Communication had to be flawless. Timing had to be perfect. Failure was not an option, but humans were never defined by fear of failure. As the fleet entered the storm's edge, the stars outside the viewport twisted and flickered, consumed by chaotic energy. The ships rocked under invisible forces, and warning lights flashed across every control panel. Yet, humans adapted. Pilots used intuition as much as instruments, navigating the storm's currents with astonishing skill. Engineers adjusted shields and power outputs, keeping the ships stable even in the most turbulent regions. Tomas Vega's voice echoed through the fleet's communication channels. Devices are deployed. Begin synchronization. Match the storm's rhythm. Every human held their breath. For a moment, it seemed as if nothing had changed. The storm roared, swirling unpredictably. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, the energy began to align. Pulses from human devices resonated with the storm's natural flow, and the chaotic movement began to smooth into a steady rhythm. Captain Leora's eyes widened. "It's working," she said, a smile breaking across her face. "We're guiding it." For hours, the fleet worked tirelessly. Every crew member, every pilot, every engineer contributed. Humans were not the fastest or the most powerful, but they were persistent, resourceful, and united. When one device malfunctioned, engineers repaired it mid-flight. When turbulence shifted a ship off course, pilots adapted instinctively. No one panicked. Humans acted. And in action, they excelled. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, other civilizations began to watch. Aliens who had doubted humans' abilities saw their bravery and ingenuity firsthand. Some offered advice, some followed orders, but all were inspired by the small blue planet whose people refused to give up. As the storm's core approached the most densely populated systems, Leora devised a bold maneuver. Instead of trying to push the storm away entirely, which would have required impossible force, she would guide it into a distant, uninhabited star. There, the storm's energy could dissipate safely, like a river flowing into the ocean. The plan was risky. The timing had to be precise. Miscalculation could send the storm careening back toward the worlds humanity was trying to save. But humans were never deterred by risk. They were defined by courage, and by the belief that with unity and ingenuity, even the impossible could be achieved. "Fleet, positions," Leora commanded. "We move as one. Devices active. Synchronize with my signal." Ships accelerated through the storm, navigating twisting energy currents, as human crews worked in perfect coordination. The storm reacted, testing every instinct and calculation. Lightning-like bursts of energy struck ships, but humans adapted, adjusting shields and trajectories with split-second precision. Hours passed, yet the human fleet continued undeterred. Tomas Vega monitored the devices, fine-tuning pulses to match the storm's chaotic rhythm. Slowly, the storm's motion began to respond. Currents that had threatened entire star systems now followed the human fleet's lead, like water following a well-placed dam. Finally, the moment of truth arrived. Leora signaled the fleet to initiate the final phase, guiding the storm into the distant star. Every ship held its position, every crew member focused. With one synchronized command, the fleet directed the storm along the calculated path. The storm obeyed, not because it could reason, but because humans understood it. Their devices, their ingenuity, and their unity had created a harmony between human action and cosmic force. Slowly, the storm's energy flowed toward the star, its destructive power dissipating harmlessly. Cheers erupted across the human fleet. Humanity had done the impossible. They had faced the storm's heart and emerged victorious not through force, but through courage, creativity, and collaboration. Across the galaxy, civilizations began to recognize the significance of what had just occurred. aliens who had doubted humans now hailed them as heroes. Invitations arrived to join galactic councils, participate in interstellar research, and lead joint missions. Humans had proven that size, strength, or advanced technology were not the only measures of greatness. Courage, ingenuity, and unity mattered as much, if not more. Back on Earth, citizens celebrated quietly. There were no parades, no monuments yet. Humanity's pride came from knowing they had answered the call when no one else would, that they had acted when others hesitated, and that they had made a difference for countless worlds. Captain Leora Kim addressed her crew one final time before returning home. "Today, we didn't just save systems," she said. "We showed the galaxy who we are. Not because we are the strongest, but because we are humans. We think, we adapt, we care, and we never give up. Remember this feeling. Let it guide you. The galaxy will face new storms, and so will we. But as long as we act together, nothing can stop us." Her words echoed through the fleet, and in those words, every human felt a quiet but unshakable truth. The heart of humanity was more powerful than any storm. The storm had passed, and life across the galaxy slowly returned to normal. Systems began rebuilding. Scientists exchanged knowledge freely. New alliances formed, and humans, once underestimated, had become a symbol of hope, courage, and ingenuity. Legends began to spread. Stories of the small blue planet whose people answered the heavens' call traveled from one star system to another. Children across distant worlds learned of humans' bravery. Leaders and scholars spoke of their courage and creativity. And even the oldest civilizations, who had once scoffed at Earth's significance, began to study human methods, inspired by their example. On Earth, life resumed, but with a subtle change. People walked with quiet pride, knowing that their collective courage had touched the stars. Engineers continued to innovate. Children continued to dream, and scientists continued to explore. Humanity had proven that even in the face of overwhelming odds, ordinary people could achieve extraordinary things. Captain Leora Kim stood on a quiet observation deck, gazing at the stars. The galaxy stretched endlessly before her, full of mysteries, wonders, and challenges yet to come. But she was not afraid. Humanity had faced the impossible, and they had prevailed. They had cried out to the heavens, and they had answered, not with power, but with courage, ingenuity, and unity. And so, humanity's legend began. The small, blue planet, once unnoticed among billions of stars, had shown the galaxy a simple truth. When humans act together, with courage and creativity, no challenge is too great. They were Earth's fiercest warriors, not because they sought battle, but because they dared to rise when others could not. And as the stars sparkled in the quiet night, one thing was certain. The galaxy would never forget the day humans answered the call of the heavens.